Hello and welcome. Today, I'm going to introduce you all to possibly the greatest review I've ever seen, while at the same time, I disagree with it vehemently. All right? It's a review for the movie Aliens, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And as you can see, many people love this film. 8.3 average rating on IMDb, 644,000 votes, rated number 73 of the top 250 movies rated on this website. So it's much beloved. It's one of the greatest 80s movies of all time, one of the greatest sci-fis, one of the greatest action movies of all time, right? But as with anything, there's always going to be detractors. There always has to be someone or a handful of people who have to dislike something, even if it's the greatest thing ever. All right? You know, you're going to find people somewhere that don't like the Mona Lisa, and I'm one of them. I actually don't like the Mona Lisa. I don't think it's that great a painting. I much prefer Da Vinci's Last Supper. I think that's his seminal work. But anyway, Renaissance paintings aside, um, this movie Aliens is fantastic. So I can't understand how anyone doesn't like it. But I was recently watching, I have to credit the idea for this video. All right, I was recently watching a video from this great channel called Alien Theory. I recommend you all go subscribe to him if you're not already. He covers everything to do with the Alien movies and even the Predator movies, just mostly sci-fi in general, but very deep dives into the lore and the backstories and the making of the Alien films, right? So he's a great channel, and he recently did a video, this one down here, all right, about all the one-star reviews for the movie Aliens on IMDb. And I watched his video; it's fantastic. And uh, the first review he did, all right, for Aliens, the first one he came across was a review from the year 2005. And this review, I've got to say, all right, this review was so good, even though it was shitting all over Aliens, one of my favorite movies, all right, one of my top five movies of all time. This reviewer raised some great points, all right. So we're going to read this review together, and you'll see what I mean by he raised some great points, but I still love the movie, all right. So let's get into it. All right. Now, this is by a user called MWB1005, and he's posted this 9th of June 2005. So this is an old review. I don't know if he still feels this way about this movie. Hopefully not. But let's read ahead. Warning spoilers. I'm pretty sure everyone here has seen this movie, seeing as it came out 34 bloody years ago. Anyway, here we go. Of course, this contains spoilers. Now he begins. I used to love this movie. It was one of my favorites. Top five even. I loved lines like, God damn you, Burke, or Game over, man, game over. Delivered brilliantly by, as you all know, Bill Paxton. May God rest his soul. Great man. Uh, and I saw this movie less than a week ago after a long waiting period. It is horrible. Now, so far, I'm disagreeing with him. All right? It's not a horrible movie. He goes, we lag on for about 45 minutes before we even get to the planet. Yes, that's true. It is a slow build up, but you're getting introduced to the characters, which I always love. In doing that, we hear all these lame lines. You can see a James Cameron line coming a mile away. The guy writes lines like he wants people to quote. He doesn't actually write. I agree, that is true. James Cameron has a real knack for writing quotable dialogue, although he said that talent of his seems to have been missing when he made bloody Avatar, because I don't remember any of the lines from that movie. It was completely forgettable script, all right? But Aliens is packed chock full of one-liners, right? So he starts off with the first line that he thinks is just written to be a memorable line instead of serving the plot. Hey man, all I gotta know is where they are. That's Vasquez who says that. And Vasquez, you're just too bad. Drake says that to her. House, he goes, high five. What? How stupid can people be? I'm not talking about the people who actually enjoy it, which is me. So thanks for not insulting me. I'm talking about these horrible Marines. What kind of lines are these? Do people actually train like this in the future? Oh no. Again about the lagging. James Cameron, you bastard. I love the way this guy's prose, the way he's written this review is just fantastic. James Cameron, you bastard. You put a dream sequence of an alien, really crappy quality too, I disagree, popping out of Ripley's chest to keep us appeased for an hour. When do we see the aliens? Now he's right. Aside from that dream sequence where Ripley's at Gateway Station or whatever in the hospital, and she has the dream that a chest burst is busting out of her. Aside from that, we don't encounter any xenomorphs for like at least, an hour into the movie. Maybe longer. I don't know. But I'm so engrossed in the world building and the character building and just the slow pace of events slowly unfolding. I love it. I love the immersion into this world. This guy obviously, on rewatching it, realized how long this movie takes to actually get into any kind of action, and it really pissed him off. I can kind of understand that. All right. I'm blinded not just by nostalgia, but just pure biased love for this movie. So it never bothers me. But I can understand it bothering other people who maybe don't have that kind of connection with this film. All right. And then he says, when do we see the aliens? All they are mindless drones, ants. The alien was not an ant. An ant cannot survive by itself. The alien was smart, fast, and scary, yet we hardly saw him. He's talking about the xenomorph in the first Alien movie, and he's right. It was like cunning and stealthy, sneaking around. It seemed to be, even though it was still an animal driven by sort of animal instincts, it didn't have cognitive, sentient abilities, but it seemed to be a bit more intelligent than they seemed to be in the second movie, in Aliens, where it did seem to act like an ant with a hive, a hive style hierarchy where there were worker ants, drones, and a queen ant, obviously. So he's saying that was different to how the xenomorph was portrayed in the first one. I kind of agree, but the xenomorph was by itself. It couldn't work with other, xenomorphs like the ones could in this one, all right? Where they seem to be pack hunting in this one, in Aliens. So in the first one, it was portrayed more as a lone hunter, a lone killer, obviously, and less of a mindless sort of bug. But that could just be because it was solitary. So it might still fit within the continuity of the universe for it to make sense. So I don't agree with that criticism. All right. But yeah, he's right. We did hardly see the alien in the first one. And in this one, you see them a lot more. That's because this one is sort of like an action thriller compared to the first movie, an action thriller where the action doesn't start until at least halfway through the movie. So it's unique in that way, but it works, in my opinion. So let's continue. He says, the alien was smart, fast, and scary in the first one, yet we hardly saw him. I hate you, James Cameron. You are boring. I'm telling you, I love the way this is written. It just, for some reason, it cracks me up. Ha ha ha, laughs the black sergeant. It's true. A Bone laughs like his ass off with his, cigar chomping and all that. But it's hilarious. It's great. I don't know. It works for me. Obviously, this guy wasn't feeling it. A girl can drive a machine. She can move a joystick and her feet. This scene is so pointless, but of course not. It's just dripping with sarcasm, but like a real sort of malicious sarcasm. The way this guy has written it. Gold. I mean, it might be written by a woman. I don't know. But it feels like the sarcasm of a bloke for some reason. Maybe it's just me. Just this writing is gold. So he's mocking the fact that the movie shows that Apone and Hicks, I think it is, they're watching Ripley use the power loader and they're really impressed with her. And this guy's mocking the fact that the movie depicts it as though it's some big accomplishment that a woman can drive a power loader. I never saw it in that way whatsoever. James Cameron is all about, empowering women in his movies. So if this guy's trying to say Cameron's movie was in some way sexist, I fully disagree because that's ridiculous. But I think they were impressed just because she'd never used one before. Like, well, she had used one on Gateway Station, but it's never shown how much time has passed. You assume it's could be a few days, a few weeks, a few months. So she had time to learn how to use a power loader. So maybe it doesn't make sense that they're surprised that she's really skillful at it. Maybe that doesn't make sense. I don't know. All I remember is in that scene, Ripley had amazing futuristic Reebok shoes, all right? Go watch that scene again and you'll see. And you can actually buy them now, collector's items, her futuristic bloody 22nd century Reeboks. They're cool as fuck. Anyway, so he says, how could we believe she could kill that big-ass queen? Pause. Why did Ripley go for the eggs and queen when the reactor was going to wipe them out anyway? Now, you know what? He's got a point. That's true. The giant fusion reactor was going critical, all thanks to Vasquez and her bloody trigger-happy firing in all directions shit. All right, I'll give her a pass because they were under attack by a swarm of xenomorphs, right? And she was freaking out and panicking. But they were warned. Don't fire there. Don't use live ammunition because you're right under the cooling system for the fusion reactor. And so this guy is right. The reactor was about to go critical. And so why is Ripley worried about destroying the eggs when they're just going to be wiped out anyway? Now, maybe you could say she was doing it because she was pissed off at the queen. She was trying to taunt the bitch by toasting her eggs up right in front of her. But how does that help her in her escape? I don't know. Ripley was caught in the moment. She had just saved Newt, and she was kind of angry. So, maybe that's what it was. Maybe she was trying to distract the queen so they could go, escape. She was trying to distract the queen, thinking the queen would go and tend to her eggs, maybe, while they could, run away. Maybe. I don't know. I'm speculating here. But there is possibilities to counteract this person's gripe. But, yeah, when I first thought about it, he did have a point, Maybe just grab Newt and hightail it the fuck out of there because the place is going to blow. What are you hanging around for? Roasting up her eggs. Anyway, so he says, Ripley's stupid action, Cameron's stupid writing, cost Bishop his torso. I guess by taunting the queen and getting the queen to chase her. I'm pretty sure the queen probably would have chased her regardless. But maybe she only detached from her egg sac because Ripley launched bloody grenades into it. Maybe she would have just sat there and left them alone. So Ripley may have cost Bishop his life. You may be onto something there, my friend. She calls the queen a bitch. Question mark. Yeah, one of the greatest lines in movie history. Get away from her, you bitch. I love that. It was brilliant. What's this person got a problem with it? She calls the queen a bitch. Hey, she destroyed her kids. Why shouldn't the queen kill a frog? Oh, sorry, Newt. So you try to say the queen alien is justified in trying to kill Newt because Ripley killed her babies. Yeah, well, the queen kind of started it. She sent her drones to kidnap everybody and impregnate them all, including Newt. So, and they're just animals. And at the end of the day, it's all about survival. And that's what Ripley was doing. She was saving a human being, which is more important than the life of a xenomorph, in my humble opinion. So I disagree with that point there. And he says, oh, I get it. Cameron wanted more action. Ho, 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 JC, James Cameron, you're good. Just the pure venomous sarcasm is so thick in this review. I love it. Unpause. Without us, the viewers, knowing that she could use the machine. Oh, Jim, you're a genius. Bill Paxton, you are horrible. Now, I have a real issue here. You can't shit on Paxton. He's fantastic in every single fucking movie he's in. especially True Lies. If you've never seen him as the used car salesman in that, pretending to be a secret agent, oh, phenomenal performance. He's brilliant. And he's fantastic as Private William Hudson in this movie. I love him. Even though it is kind of unrealistic, I always had an issue with the fact that he's a battle-hardened, seasoned Marine, colonial Marine, who's been into outer space, been to other planets, seen all kinds of shit, and he's like cracking up and freaking out and having a nervous breakdown because of the xenomorphs and because their transportation out of there got destroyed. That I found a bit unrealistic, but it made his character so much more entertaining, and it gave him a character arc later when he overcame his fear and was giving hell to the xenomorphs, and he went down as a true hero, saving other people's lives. So it worked for the movie because his performance was entertaining, but it probably wasn't realistic if you think about it for a seasoned Marine to freak out like that. All right, and so you can't criticize Bill Paxton or his performance, but the writing, yes, that might be somewhat of a plot hole, having a Marine freak out like that. All right, you can understand it with Gorman because he was green, Lieutenant Gorman, the commander of the operation. He was green. He was a rookie. He'd never sort of done a real military operation in real life, only in a simulator. So you can understand him being apprehensive. But then again, shitty training if that's the case. So let's continue. He goes, I liked the spacecraft in the beginning, but I've seen the effect in 2001. A Space Odyssey, I assume he's talking about Kubrick's film. Much better too. Yes, the special effects in 2001 A Space Odyssey are fantastic for the year 1968, but they don't hold a candle, in my opinion, to Aliens. All right, I know it's almost 20 years later, but my God, how can you say the Sulaco didn't look fantastic? The model of the Sulaco looked unreal. Yes, the dropship looked a bit dodgy in the scene where it's entering the atmosphere. You could tell it's sort of on some kind of green screen or superimposed on the image of the atmosphere as it's coming through the clouds. But I don't care. The design of the dropship is fantastic. I love it. I love the stop motion of that and the APC. And talking about plot holes that we were before, there are a few in this movie, things that don't really make sense if you think about it. All right, I'll just mention a few that that are off the top of my head. And I still love this movie. It's still a 10 out of 10, but they have to be mentioned. All right, if we're reading a critical review of it, it has to be mentioned. All right, so the fact that Ripley's daughter dies at the age of 66 or something, like 60s, in the year 2179, and she dies of like an illness, cancer or something. In 2179, they still haven't cured cancer, and people can't live beyond their 60s, like pretty much foolproof. That was unrealistic. Even the first time I watched it, I was thinking that it's almost heading towards the 23rd century, and people are still dying of issues like that we're probably only a couple of decades or maybe even less away from overcoming in our current timeline, and this is like 150 years in the future. So that was unrealistic. Also, the fact that that giant engineer's spaceship, the derelict ship on LV-426, all right, there's been a colony there for 20 years, and they never saw that giant fucking spaceship. They never surveyed the planet with drones or satellite imagery and seen that giant fucking spaceship. It's like 300 meters wide. It's not like it's buried underground. It's just sitting on the top of like a ridge of a mountain. You'd see that thing from like 100 miles away. How the fuck? How the hell was that thing not discovered until Ripley told Burke about it and then he sent them the coordinates? That was unrealistic, all right? They should have had that it got buried by volcanic activity. So it was, buried under, after 50 odd years, under several layers of lava or some shit, or an earthquake and the ground split and it fell into the ground. Something. They should have done something to have it be hidden, to explain why it was never found in the 20 years that the colonists have been there. Ridiculous that they didn't survey the planet before colonizing it. Insane, all right? There's probably a few others, all right? But aside from those few, All right, still a perfect movie because I can overlook those minor flaws because it's so damn fucking entertaining. And I find the writing in terms of the pacing and for the most part, the story, it all fits together and just works perfectly. Love the characters, love the dialogue, love the special effects, the action, the build up, the atmosphere. It's the full package of a movie. That's why it's a 10 out of 10. Anyway, let's continue. We're almost at the end of this crazy ass review, right? So as he said, he's seen the effects in 2001: A Space Odyssey and he thinks they're much better. I disagree. I think they're better in this. All right. Although they were more groundbreaking back in 1968 for that movie. He says, oh, and Star Wars pulled it off with lots of ships. So wait, I've changed my mind. Cameron is again unoriginal. So saying, what is he insinuating that using practical effects props and like models and lighting it and all that and making it look like it's in outer space, using practical models for spaceships is somehow unoriginal? Well, that means every sci-fi movie before the 90s is unoriginal in this guy's opinion. So that is a stupid, in my opinion, all right, a bad criticism. Doesn't make sense. All right. Yeah, Star Wars had practical effects. So did 2001: Space Odyssey. So did Aliens, and it looked great in all three of those movies. All right. So I don't get your point in that one. Anyway, he goes, just watch this movie. Listen to the dialogue. I have, and it's great. Yes, I know how to spell, but IMDB won't let me add the UE. Well, okay. So I did watch the movie. I watched it many dozens of times, and I still love the dialogue. And yes, it's a bit cheesy and a bit over the top and unrealistic in parts, but it makes it memorable. And I wouldn't even say unrealistic. It fits with the characters, and I love it. Anyway, he says, I'm going to watch every other Cameron flick I own and then probably sell a copy to one of you that gives my review a thumb down. Trey Benton. Oh, so it was a guy. Trey Benton. Okay, I was right. So he's going to he's going to sell a copy of one of his other James Cameron movies to whoever gives him a thumbs down. Okay, whatever. I hope he was successful in making some money from selling the rest of his James Cameron collection. All you have to do is put on bloody eBay, if it even existed in 2005. I don't know if it did, and they'll sell like hotcakes because everyone loves James Cameron movies, for the most, except for Avatar. All right, I didn't like Avatar. I love all his other films. I don't love Titanic. I like Titanic. I don't love it. All his other films from before Titanic, so pretty much True Lies going all the way back to the first Terminator movie, are all fantastic, brilliant movies. And yeah, I enjoyed this review when good old Alien Theory covered it. And he did a pretty brief rebuttal to each review. But I thought I'd do an in-depth one on this guy because it cracked me up. I feel like this guy had a few points that made sense about, how some elements of the movie don't make sense and are over the top. And the fact that the action does, take a long time to get started. And the fact that, it's pretty slow paced to begin with. And the fact that it does have some, cheesy sort of dialogue that does feel like it was written to be memorable. But for me, all these elements that he hates, they work in the movie. They work. But he does have a point. Like, for people that aren't in love with this movie like I am and are completely biased and nostalgic towards it, these criticisms may actually, make sense to some people. So that's why I thought I'd cover this review. It's one of the best reviews I've read, especially one that I completely disagree with, even though he had some all right points there. But overall, this is a great movie. I don't understand how anyone could not really love it. But it's fun to read some of these reviews. I recommend you, if you have some spare time, check them out. Even for some other of your favorite movies, you got to read what some people write about why they hate some of the greatest movies of all time. I bet there are some on there for Shawshank, Terminator, Predator, all the movies that are, in my opinion, perfect movies. And there's going to be someone out there. There's always a detractor. There's always someone, who's not going to love even the greatest thing of all time. All right. So anyway, I think I'll leave it there. Thanks for coming along and listening to my rambling incoherence at times. Much appreciated. Please, while you're there, subscribe to this channel, like this video, leave a comment if you agree or disagree or want to share your thoughts. Take care, be good, and I'll see you later, folks.